Is the U.S. ag economy in a recession? We're going to talk about that plus a lot more on today's episode of the Arkansas AgCast, which starts right now.
You're listening to the Arkansas AgCast, where we discuss the latest news, trends, and issues impacting Arkansas farmers and ranchers. Our show is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation and hosted by Jason Brown and John Nickman.
That's us.
Yes, we are them.
I remember, I just remembered something from last week.
Did you?
Yeah.
What's that?
Where you signed yourself off as Mr. McMahon.
That's correct. That's who I am.
I'd forgotten all about that until
Well, you should have
I
seen their
looked up at
faces
you.
when I said that, especially Brian's.
Oh, we had a good laugh.
Brian
about
was
that.
busy looking down at his board, and as soon as I said that, he popped up. Like,
It shocked him.
It did shock me.
yeah,
I'll
keep
say
y'all on
this.
your toes around here.
You do that. You definitely do that. We have fun. Nobody can ever accuse us of not having fun. when
No,
we do this show.
no.
That's for sure. It's the last Thursday in August of the year of the Lord 2024.
Hopefully, August takes this heat with it,
Man,
but I don't see that happening.
I hope so. I was watching some weather. What would that be? I'll say forecasting, just for lack of a better term, last night on my iPad, like
Yep.
on YouTube. And Heather's like, would it be safe to say that if someone asks you your hobby, you would say tracking weather?
Did she ask that of you?
Yeah.
No.
I was like, it's a thing. It's one thing that I do. I don't know.
See, that's what my wife. I would ask my wife that question.
Does she do that?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You're just always looking at the weather.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Do you
Did
check
you
the
know?
weather?
No, I didn't know.
I check it occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Times like this where you're like, oh, it's hot.
Yeah.
It's hot and dry.
Right.
No need to look at that.
Usually I just look see if it's going to rain or snow, just
For
kind of what they're
dressing
kinda-
purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the record, there's no chances of snow today. So
Oh, good
That's
to know.
good to know. Yeah.
Good to know. This video I was watching, something you've reported on a lot, but it's kind of laying out the La Nina pattern and what was the expectations for timing,
Yeah.
part of the, how intense it'll be or whatever. But they were doing some fall forecasting, and I say all of that, I digress, because it looks like we may have some actual cooler temperatures in the month of September.
Yeah. Somebody was telling me that we've got 2 possible hurricanes hitting the country at the same time. I think one in Florida and one towards Louisiana, maybe. But I don't know the timeline of that.
Yeah, I don't think they talked about that a little bit last night, but none of that's imminent.
Okay.
I would say I don't even know that they're named at this point. Matter of fact, one of the things they said was there was projected to be 23 named storms this year. There's been 5.
Oh, wow.
And they said there's no way we'll get to 23 before the
Okay.
season's over. So part of that's La Nina too.
Yeah.
Kind of keeping things
Transition into.
level. Yeah. So anyway,
Well, I think when we reported it, that transition should be complete somewhere in like November, right?
yep. So
December
there's
or something like that.
yeah. The debate last night is I don't know how any of this works. So please, don't expect me to go into depth. But they had a 66% chance that it was a September to October timeline, and a 75% chance that it would be an October to November, or I'm sorry, November to January.
Yeah,
timeline.
I remember that.
So yeah. Anyway, I know the other takeaway that I got was, very early on, it was projected that the La Nina pattern would be pretty extreme. I think the thought was maybe a lot of winter weather, and they said that's not happening. Completely backed off that now, and it should be a pretty mild.
It'll be interesting to see what it looks like in the spring.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Once we're there.
Absolutely. Well, it's like I said, it's Thursday. It's a Labor Day weekend this weekend,
It's game day
and that's
today.
Yeah,
especially
buddy.
for the city of Little Rock.
indeed.
You have on your Razorback red today,
I do. My little Razorback logo.
and I asked,
I'm
are
a
you-
true supporter of a somewhat arguably mediocre sometimes less than mediocre team.
I'm going to come back and ask a question about that in a second. But you
I'm
said
an
for
upset
you
supporter.
said for Little Rock. You said for Little Rock. So what's happening?
The game's here at War Memorial.
Yeah, to in-state rival or in-state matchup at that.
In-state matchup with UAPB.
Yeah.
Did they play last year here, or was it the year before?
I don't remember that.
I went. I can't remember. If you've not seen the UAPB band perform, you are missing out.
Worth your time, isn't
Yes.
it? Yeah.
We went to a band performance. There was just so happened to be a football game at the same time. It blew me away.
That's awesome.
They did a really good job, but it was hot, and I expect it to be just as hot, if not hotter, this evening. So
yeah.
But man, I grew up going to Little Rock games. We didn't have the time or the financial resources to go to a lot of Fayetteville games. That was kind of a vacation for us growing up.
Sure.
Yeah.
So like I have fond memories of going to Little Rock games, and when we actually had SEC games
Yeah.
and big games.
Yeah.
If you're listening, athletic department, those were the good old
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Back when Houston didn't
LSU.
lose at Little Rock, you know.
LSU would play.
LSU,
in
the
Little
Miracle,
Rock.
Markham, and all those cool games.
Yeah.
And then like if the game was in the right part of the year, you could go duck hunting that morning, and then that afternoon you could drive up to Little Rock and go to the football game.
Man.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. So,
I remember going one year to a game when Lou Holtz was the coach.
Oh wow, yeah.
And sitting in the end zone, and it was late October.
Yeah.
You know, froze to death.
Oh man.
It was, but we had a good time.
Yeah.
I remember my parents dropped me off at my grandparents one time. I don't know how old I was. I can guess proximity, but they were borrowing extra. Like they had they were coming to Little Rock for a game, and they had thrown a couple blankets in the car, but were borrowing a couple more on their way out.
Oh yeah,
to the car to go to the game.
Yeah.
yeah.
My mom's dad, my grandfather, was a state trooper in I think Garland County. And he always got to go on the field with it. It was probably Lou Holtz, I guess. I might have been 4 or 5. He would take me and my dad down there. I have no memory of it. But I wish I had, or had some pictures back then of me and my grandpa and my dad, me on my dad's shoulders or
Was
something
it
like that.
Danny Ford?
Probably
Danny Ford.
Probably would have been
days.
Danny Ford days
that
back
like-
then.
Man, I was born in '86. Not
that
on
had
the
to be
spot.
because that's
So
who
like
I'm
90
thinking.
maybe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably Danny Ford days.
Danny Ford.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of cool memories of War Memorial and going to all those games growing up and being on the golf course.
It's a treat to have that place. Yeah,
And then
golf
you were
course
just
that's
talking
no
about living
longer-
close to it during game day, and
Yeah, we lived a couple streets over from the 17th fairway for a long time, and enjoying that. I mean, what a unique experience.
Yeah.
We would, always host folks in town, and go over there and do that.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not a golf course anymore. If you don't know that,
yeah.
still laid out like one. So
Those were, that stadium I think only holds like 50 or 52,000 maybe, somewhere around there. But there's not a whole lot of space in between the sideline and that wall into the stands.
yeah,
And then you're almost right on top of the game. So it gets, if it's a really big game, it gets incredibly loud in there.
Oh yeah.
And there's really not a bad seat in that stadium.
there's nothing that's just too high up.
No.
Is what I was thinking.
So it might be a little old, a little outdated, but it's got a lot of tradition. And there is a rumor, I don't know if it's official yet, but they're supposed to be, the U of A and Arkansas State are supposed to be playing War Memorial in 2025, right?
Yeah, that's the talk.
I think that's going to be
Well,
a big game.
That's
if
the
it
talk.
happens.
I'll see you there.
I'm not going to the game there because the last game I went to there, we lost, and it was the UA Monticello, or the UAM, the opening.
Oh,
the opener.
Louisiana Monroe.
Louisiana Monroe.
It was a
Louisiana-
Sunbelt
yes.
team that
Yes.
beat them.
Yes.
And that's when really. I mean,
Yes.
obviously they weren't an SEC team, but they were still playing. I'd say
They play like one every other year or something like
a
that.
higher quality of game.
Oh,
But
yeah.
when they beat, it was almost like the Voodoo Dolls or something
Yeah.
were out.
Oh,
In
absolutely.
Fayetteville, it was like, whoa, that place has got bad juju.
Was that
if,
Bielema? Because he lost Toledo there too.
Yeah,
Remember they had
No,
some-
it
I
wasn't,
don't think
it wasn't
it was
Bielema. It was
Bielema. It may have been what's his name?
was
one
Chad
year.
Petrino.
No.
I thought,
What?
but
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. Somebody's screaming at their AirPods right now.
Yeah.
Oh, they're hating on me right now.
Yeah.
So
I was there
I'm
for both
butchering
those
this bad.
games. But the one with Toledo, I remember they had, was it Brad Paisley? They had a concert after the game set up for him out in the golf course. And they lost that game. And I remember a lot of people hearing the Toledo fans like, yeah, go enjoy your concert. have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember one of those, when we used to play LSU the day after Thanksgiving. That was 2012. They won in overtime. I don't know. We'd have to go back and see who the coach was. That may have been Petrino, but it was 2012. Anyway.
Well, the game that I'm talking about
They
would
have
been,
lost two games more than the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Or so.
Arkansas was ranked number 8.
Yeah.
They beat them in overtime.
Ooh, was that John
No,
L.
that
Smith?
was.
It would have been.
No, it was in Little Rock.
It would have been
in Little Rock.
2015.
Okay.
2015,
Okay.
2016.
Yeah.
That would have been John
L. Smith. That's who I was trying to think of.
Chad Morris.
I couldn't get the name out. But anyway, enough of that. So they are playing, I believe, next year, Arkansas versus Arkansas State in Little Rock on September the 6th. So there you go.
September 6th. It's going to be a hot
Circle
one.
it. Yeah, it will be. Anyway, it's fun. College football we talked about last week, but college football is back. That's always
If
seems
they
like
would
a good
schedule
thing.
that Little Rock game after harvest, more people would attend.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah,
True.
that's a fair point for
I
sure.
hope y'all are listening, but there might be some reason why they're doing it the way they are. So
Who knows?
I'm not going to go on a rant.
Yeah.
Hold myself back.
All right. Well, let's see. Let me get us back on track. Did all that internet right there. and
Got
kind
you
of got
lost.
myself lost. All right. So non-football news, I guess, it would be tomorrow. If you haven't seen this, the Northeast Arkansas Rice Research Extension Center, the new one there in Harrisburg, they'll be hosting a grand opening tomorrow that begins at 10:15, I believe, 10:30, and that event will be something that's widely attended by Arkansas Farm Bureau folks, of course. But yeah, you're welcome to go out there and attend that, see it. I believe that U of A has asked for you to RSVP if you plan to attend.
Yep.
I know there's going to be speakers, facility tours, just a wide variety of activities, remarks from Dr. Tim Bertram, who's overseeing that thing, I believe.
Yep. The boardroom there is, since we were the Farm Bureau Federation was a sponsor, it's named the Farm Bureau Boardroom.
Oh, I did
Arkansas
not realize
Farm
that.
Bureau Boardroom.
I did not realize that. Huh. All right. Well, that's pretty cool. And then right as we went on air, or say on air, started recording, I got a note saying that now the governor will be delivering remarks there tomorrow.
Okay.
So she's set to deliver remarks, I guess, right at the top at 10:30. So there you go. If you're in Northeast Arkansas, Craighead, Poinsett County, or somewhere near there and want to attend, that place is fairly easy to find.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll see a lot of us there.
Yep, will do. There'll be quite a few of us there. So anyway, I guess we'll move into crop progress and quality. Keep this thing running
Go
today. And I'm excited to tell you that we do have a couple of harvest progress updates, according to USDA this week. So that means we're really in the thick of it now.
I was wondering when it was going to catch up to USDA.
Yeah. So corn quality is at 77% good to excellent, holding steady right now. We have our first, like I said, reporting on harvest progress from USDA. Corn is 30% done in the state. When I say is, I guess I should say was. Because their report comes out on Monday, mid-morning.
Yeah.
So this was as of Monday. Okay. I know our team the PR team has talked to a lot of farmers who have been racing some of the forecasted rain at the end of the week. So I would not be surprised to see that jump 5-10% when we record this show again next week. So right now, corn is 30% done in the state. Rice quality is at 76% good to excellent, holding steady there too. 23% of the state's rice crop has been harvested.
Yeah.
So moving along there. Cotton quality is at 78%. Good to excellent, holding steady since last week. 45% bowls opening there. And I will tell you, I am just now realizing that I left soybeans off this list, and I apologize. But soybeans have been maintaining that 85 plus percent.
That will show on your employee evaluation.
I know it will. I know it will.
There's a mark.
Yep. Count it down right now. And then peanut quality, 92% good to excellent. Another week over week improvement there. And just a shout out to our friend Heath Riles.
Yeah, Heath.
Listener of the show. Mm-hmm. He texts John and I, wait a minute. This is a program. I should make up some fake. He sent mail into the inbox, the Arkansas AgCast mailbox. The Arkansas AgCast mailbox. He sent a letter. When we opened it, we saw that he wrote this week to confirm that we were correct. The peanut crop this year is the largest in state history.
Yeah.
I'd have to go back and look at our notes from last week, but I believe it's 46,000 acres of peanuts. He says that is largely due to an increase in acres down in Lee County. Ah. So the Arkansas peanut crop this year doing well, according to Heath. Vegetable quality reporting is at 48% good to excellent, holding steady now there. And then we're seeing the state's wildfire risk increase daily. Probably not news to anybody watching or listening here. There's a large swath of the southern portion rated at a high wildfire risk right now. More counties have been added to the burn ban list since we recorded last week. Mm-hmm. We're also starting to hear alarm bells about the Mississippi River level as we progress through harvest. You might have mentioned this last week, but I saw...
I did in a more positive, optimistic, I should say.
Yeah.
But I was down in Phillips County last weekend and got rode right next to the river, mm-hmm. and it was not high.
I have seen from some other economists in the state start to mention concern over basis mm-hmm. And load restrictions throttling down.
We need some rain up north.
So, yeah, we do. So anyway, all right. Well,
do you want to just take a speculative guess at what soybeans have done in regards to harvest? I have no idea like what that number would be here, but like if you were to put a number to it, what do you think the percentage of harvested beans is out there?
Oh, I think less than 1%.
Less than 1? I was thinking less than 5.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, well, I do know. Well, I say I know.
That's nothing to argue about. It's not.
No, I don't believe. I don't believe that they had started reporting harvest numbers yet, and I don't know how USDA does that. We should ask Mike Clam or somebody. I don't know if that it has to hit a certain percentage threshold or how they make the decision to start putting that in the report.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. That'd be a good question for Mike.
Yeah.
We ready for some news?
Let's do it.
Okay. I talk about this all the time, but it is H-2A in the news time.
Yes.
So an H-2A rule regarding worker protections was ruled unconstitutional by a federal judge in Georgia this week. This is going to have an impact on the state of Arkansas as well.
Yes, it is.
This past spring, if you remember, the U.S. Labor Department issued a rule that specifies H-2A employers cannot retaliate against any H-2A visa holder who has, quote, engaged in activities related to self-organization, including any effort to form, join, or assist a labor organization, or has engaged in other concerted activities for the purpose of mutual aid or protection relating to wages or working conditions, or has refused to engage in any or all of such activities, end of quote. However, the Labor Department rule has been deemed unconstitutional by U.S. District Judge Lisa Godbey Wood. Do you think I pronounced that?
Yeah, I think so.
Godbey Wood.
You usually do nail the tougher names.
Yeah. I appreciate that, but it's not true. But let me find my spot. So she deemed it unconstitutional because it gives farm workers collective bargaining rights. Judge Godbee said that the rule it conflicts with the National Labor Relations Act, or NLRA, and is thus unconstitutional. The judge also declined to issue a nationwide injunction and instead applying the ruling to the original plaintiffs that included the states of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, Louisiana, Arkansas, Kansas, the I-states, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia.
Quite the coalition.
Yeah. The Labor Department argued that the final rule was different from the NLRA because it does not require employers to recognize labor organizations or to engage in any collective bargaining activities. So this is when the judge gets kind of colorful here. I really enjoyed this.
Oh, really? Okay.
The judge was quoted saying, "Point taken, but that is not the issue. The issue is whether the final rule creates a right to previously bestowed, a right not previously bestowed by Congress. The court finds it does so, regardless of the terminology used in the rule, be it collective bargaining or otherwise. The final rule provides for agricultural workers' right to participate in concerted activity to further their interest. That is a right that Congress has not created by statute." Interesting. But she also goes on to say, the court finds that by implementing the final rule, the department has exceeded the general authority constitutionally afforded to agencies. Agencies may play the sorcerer's apprentice, but not the sorcerer himself.
Wow.
She quoted a 2001 Supreme Court right there in that little quote. She also said the final rule is an attempt by the DOL to play the sorcerer.
Wow.
The DOL may assist Congress, but may not become Congress. So I found all that interesting in kind of how she deemed the rule she made.
Pretty colorful language.
Yeah,
like
and I think that's something we kind of deal with as an ag organization in Farm Bureau or the ag industry, is whether it be the EPA or USDA or Department of Labor, whatever agency it is. Sometimes they pass some rules that may or should be passed by Congress. So they're there to manage or administer their rules, but they're not technically there to set them sometimes.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of a win for our ag employers.
Yeah.
Right. And then there's another issue within that I don't think has been answered, but what we're seeing in some of these new rules from the Department of Labor is that there's a guidance line on what is deemable or okay to let somebody go for.
Oh, yeah.
And an example of somebody, an employee, taking something they didn't pay for at Walmart or any kind of retail store and being arrested for that. That wasn't particularly a deemable possible firing.
Because it was off the farm.
Maybe.
Okay.
And a lot of it's kind of vague.
Yeah.
So at the moment, this is just one part of this new rule that's being addressed. And should not speculate, but I am, that some of this may continue to come out.
Okay. Interesting. Piece by piece,
Yeah.
maybe, rather than the whole.
Yeah, maybe. That's just a thought.
Okay. Well, you did stay at Holiday Inn last night. So. Sorry, I don't know where that came from, but all right. Well, moving on here. The Corps of Engineers has a plan to study the basin of a major Arkansas river. Let's look at the details and see how it may impact rural communities and farmers. We're bringing you this news with the help of Arkansas Democrat Gazette reporter Lucas DeFala, who reports, according to an announcement Monday, the Corps' Little Rock district has partnered with Arkansas State University to begin the first ever comprehensive study of the White River Basin watershed. The agreement was signed at a ceremony at Jacksonport State Park near Newport, which sits on the banks of the White River, if you've never been there. The project, which will span 5 years, will result in the two parties working to develop a sustainable water management strategy. According to the project plan, 5 components will be the focus of the study: system operations, flood risk management, hydropower generation, water supply evaluation, and ecological impacts of the river. DeFala notes a primary concern will be how to reallocate water in the system's many reservoirs. He also states that ultimately the work of the Corps and the university will provide data for the watershed level assessments and recommendations. The study will cost an estimated $5 million, which does not include implementation. It's reported that 75% of the funding needed will come from federal sources. The study has received $263,000 in funding so far. The Corps noted that any recommendations arising from the study are subject to further approval and community input and would require additional funding. Implementation could take an additional 5 years.
Yeah.
The article notes this study is much needed with how much the basin of the river has changed and how it's utilized. The Corps says there are competing use wants along the river that include flood control, hydropower, more drinking water, just to name a few, and stated the importance of balancing those correctly to meet the current demands.
Yeah, I was reading a few different articles on this, and I found it very interesting. And it's surprising that it never crossed my mind. But the White River, where I grew up, is what I think of when I think of the White River. The other part is like trout fishing, and those are my two thoughts. And but I never took into the thought of flood control. I get that. Hydropower, okay, that's a little further away from what I'm used to.
Yeah.
And then drinking water, another aspect I think in one of the articles I read was like, at the very top, say Northwest Arkansas or North Central Arkansas, those populations are growing in Northwest Arkansas. Their demand or need or what they want out of the river is different than what we may need maybe down in Deschutes County.
Right.
Where the population has dropped by 50% over the last 10 years or 20 years, whatever it is. So that was pretty interesting. And not to take away from the importance, and maybe not so serious of a question, but to me is, why is there a P in Corps? I've always wondered that. I've interacted with the Corps all throughout my life, whether it be recreationally on the river or
Mrs. McMahon.
But why is there a P in Corps?
Mrs. McMahon, as an educator, could you just pull your son to the side over the weekend?
As a reading teacher, tell me why there's a P.
Just help him out, okay?
Because you want to say corpse.
Well,
the corpse of engineers.
Some of us might. Others, have gone to school and know.
I recommend you not use corpse of engineers.
No,
that would be a bad thing.
Yeah. So why would you spell it that way?
Well, it's sophistication.
Yeah. I just spent too much time on the river, I guess.
That's it. You've been down on the low end of the river.
Okay, so let's stop attacking me, and how about we just take a break to hear about how you can keep rural roads safe across Arkansas.
Arkansas farmers and ranchers work 7 days a week. That means when you hit the road, you may be sharing it with farm equipment, especially if you're traveling along rural roads and county highways. Farm equipment moves slower than our pickup trucks and minivans. They may not have the safety lights and turn signals of our family vehicles either. The trucks and tractors moving down the road need extra room to make turns, cross bridges, and move through intersections too. We all get in a hurry sometimes, but it's important that we all stay safe, no matter if we're headed to buy groceries or grow them. So next time you're cruising past a pasture or field, keep an eye out for farmers. They'll be sure to keep an eye out for you too. If we all work together, we can make sure Arkansas is cultivating safe roads.
All right. Yet again, I have another story. There's nothing mentioned here about the corpse or the Corps.
I don't know if you know this, but this is just part of what you do here. You read the news.
I've been told this is a requirement that I have at least 2 stories, but you never know.
Yeah.
Each week's different. So I want to talk about the U.S. ag economy. I read a pretty interesting article. The question here is, are we in a recession, or are we headed towards one or not? So every month, more than 70 ag economists around the country are surveyed by the Ag Economist Monthly Monitor, which is managed by the University of Missouri. The survey seeks to gauge economists' sentiments toward the ag industry every month. It's probably no surprise to anyone that the August survey produced some not so positive responses.
No doubt.
However, one bright spot were comments on the cattle industry, specifically strong cattle prices. Of the more than 70 respondents, over half said yes, We are on the brink of a recession in the ag industry, and almost all the rest of the responses said, yes, we are already in a recession. So not good. But anyways, the monitor went on by asking the respondents to explain why they think we are already in a recession. And here are some of those responses. At least for most crop producers, the sharp drop in prices and cash receipts has resulted in lower net income and financial pressure on leveraged producers. The picture is generally less dire on the animal agriculture side of the ledger, as prices are up for cattle, milk, as examples, for some commodities, and feed costs are declining. The next quote, I do think the U.S. ag economy is in a recession. The projection for 2023 and 2024 farm incomes in real dollars are the two largest declines in history. Costs exceed prices for most commodities, and the outlook doesn't provide indication of improvement soon. And then lastly, this little segment, farm incomes are down. Ag manufacturers are laying people off. Suppliers of those manufacturers are also laying people off. Wow. What are the bright spots? He asked. Cattle, depending on the segment. Trade with Mexico, maybe. After that, the list gets pretty thin. So Scott Brown, who's the interim director of Rural and Farm Finance Policy Analysis Center, or RAFF, University of Missouri, who also helps author the monthly monitor each month, was quoted saying, cattle prices, I think, have been helpful in pulling it up. At the same time, we see corn and soybean prices continue to move lower. Brown says we know crop receipts are going to be lower than what they would have said back at the start of the year. Cattle probably higher, hogs probably higher, and dairy probably higher. But economists also expect production expenses to not go up from where they are originally during the first part of the year. So me personally, I think it's important to note that in 2022, USDA forecasted net farm income to reach $105.5 billion in nominal dollars. However, the forecast dropped in 2023 by $29.7 billion, or 16%, to $155.9 billion. And in 2024, it is forecasted to drop even further by $39.8 billion, or 25.5%, to settle at $116.1 billion. USDA is set to provide an updated forecast in September, which is just next week.
We'll have that.
Yeah, I don't know what the actual date of that report is, but we'll have it soon. And to wrap this up a little bit, economists were asked three more questions that I also found interesting. The first one being, what will impact crop prices over the next 6 months? And these five were listed. Responses were listed. Growing crop size and limited exports, bioenergy and feed demand, South America's weather and crop size, especially the second crop, which we don't have here in the U.S., final production numbers and plantings for the first crop. Here are the last two, potential for new tariffs and retaliations with China. I think something you may get into here in a minute.
Yep. Fertilizer prices and impact on 2025 acreage. And then also specifically to the cattle prices, what should we what impact should we expect over the next 6 months? They had three responses here: weaker demand, lower corn prices, and possibility of tighter cattle numbers. And then kind of looking forward, what to watch for as the industry as a whole and its economy. Deterioration of liquidity, growing gap between this situation for crop and livestock, or the situation for crop and livestock producers. Another one, impact of a Trump versus Harris win and the misconceptions around who is better for the farm economy. So speculation of which one's going to be better. Continued high costs for many ag inputs. And then this last one here, there's this huge list here, but this one really stood out to me. This person said, I'm frustrated by the continued presence on U.S. farmers to be more sustainable, which often results in higher farm cost and could lead to more regulation or hoops to jump through or reduce production. At the same time, South American producers continue to rapidly expand production in a less sustainable way. He is also concerned that this will lead to vertical integration of crop farming. And then again, some issues about tariffs. Will Congress set in to support farm incomes at these levels? ARC, PLC are ineffective at this point. Ad hoc spending has been rampant over the last few years. Inflation was another response. Possible government farm program payments this fall. And then, the introduction of maybe AI computers into fund managers for agriculture. So that was a kind of a huge list of things to come across, but I thought it was all kind of interesting what people's thoughts were
across the country about the economy of the ag industry. And is it? I mean, I thought it was nice they pointed out the cattle industry and animal products.
What's been going on there?
Yeah, and it kind of, if we didn't have that, this outlook or these thoughts would be even worse.
Yeah, I think so. And to be clear, a lot of that you were giving there are direct quotes from some of the economists who were not necessarily your perspective.
No, not my perspective. Those, like I said, those are direct quotes from the economists across the country that were surveyed in this ag monitor,
part of this
monthly monitor.
Yeah. All right, so I'll wrap us up here as we start to wind down.
Oh, you've got another story?
Yeah, I do.
Man, I got somewhere to be, man.
Oh, well, listen. This one actually ties in, sometimes we get lucky. These two stories are going to tie in very nicely, I think.
Yeah.
So, this is a story that you've actually reported on recently, but we have some fresh projections from USDA and what we can expect out of the U.S. ag trade deficit in the coming year. The headline here really is that the U.S. ag trade deficit is projected to grow to $42.5 billion in fiscal year 25, which starts on October 1st of 2024, so the federal fiscal. USDA, in its quarterly ag trade outlook, says U.S. ag exports are estimated to drop $4 billion next year to $169.5 billion. Why the drop? I'm glad you asked, John.
Why?
First off, no breaking news to farmers here, but low commodity prices, right?
Yeah,
we just talked about that. That could go even lower or playing a big factor in the forecasting. Also, China's purchases of U.S. ag products continue to drag, which is something you talked about a lot lately. You just mentioned tariffs there in that story.
You're really making me feel good.
Exports to China alone are expected to drop $3 billion next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Since 2023, get this, U.S. ag exports to China have dropped by nearly $10 billion. Mexico is also projected to decrease its imports of U.S. ag products, and Canada imports are set to remain flat. So drops in China and Mexico, and Canada is remaining flat there. Adding, I didn't write this in, but basically they said China is no longer the number one importer of U.S. ag exports. So anyway, moving on. USDA also says U.S. ag imports, which are products that we bring in when we bring in ag products from other countries, will increase by $8 billion in FY25. Something you talked about recently too, bringing the total import tally to $212 billion. When compared to the export number, that calculates to that $42.5 billion deficit that we talked about. That's an increase on imports of $12.5 billion from the year that we're currently in.
Yeah.
What are we importing? Like we've talked about before, looking at that list gives a good look into consumer tastes and preferences. Things like fresh fruits and vegetables, coffee, cocoa, and other products. And I want to note, we relied on reporting from AgriPulse for this story, and they talked with Senator John Bozeman about this news. He said, in part, we have entered uncharted territory with the latest projected data on the U.S. ag trade deficit. The U.S. last had an ag trade surplus in 2022. Albeit by a slim $2 billion margin.
Yeah.
That was preceded by deficits in 2019 and 2020.
And I appreciate all the comments you made about how right I was.
Try to give credit where it's due,
Not to say I was right, but like everything I thought has been backed up by your story here. And it worries me quite a bit. Not that I lose sleep over it, but I'm sure a lot of people are.
Well, I talked about importing those products, and I believe when you talked about the ag trade deficit before, we talked about changing consumer tastes.
Yeah.
I obviously mentioned that here, but when I brought this story up to you before we started recording, you said also it's a tougher product to produce in America.
Yeah, I mean, there's specific crops, say like avocados and bananas. We ain't, we're not making that here in the U.S. We just don't have the climate for it. There might be some small stuff, but not at scale like we see other crops. But fruits and vegetables, we can produce that here. And not to get on a rant, but we just can't produce them as cheap as they can in other countries, specifically Mexico, Canada's very similar. They do a lot of indoor stuff. They can produce high volumes, but yeah, the cost of production's a huge player in this issue, and the reason why we're where we are today. And what your point is, the consumers want those products.
Yeah.
Right? They want to eat those whole foods that they deemed healthier, which I can't argue with that. But and then it's pretty cool to see John Bozeman being quoted here too.
Yeah.
Our good friend of the show. And I don't know, a lot of black clouds over the ag industry, it feels like.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, before we turn it over to Brian to torture us, I did want to circle back on that soybean.
Oh, yeah? Did you find something for
Yeah,
us?
I did. So quality-wise, we're looking at, 75-ish% good to excellent.
Okay.
But I hope this is no sign of how we're going to do in trivia. I was wrong.
Yeah.
They have began reporting soybean harvest numbers. You were wrong as well. So do you want to take another run?
So you said you were wrong as well, meaning both of us were wrong.
We were both wrong on the percentage.
And we were too low?
I think so.
You think
I
so?
was trying to remember what you said now. Soybeans harvested 10%.
10%.
As of Monday of this week.
Well, I was closer. So that means I was right.
Well, this is not the Price is Right. We've had this conversation.
If only it worked that way.
Yeah, that dollar guess didn't work out for you.
We've had this conversation a lot.
Well,
anyway,
that's
so
a
I
lot
just
more than
wanted
I
to
thought.
I'm telling you, I would have lost that bet all day long.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
All right. So
How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good.
Okay.
How about y'all?
All right. Well,
So far.
we did so good last week. There's no way. There's no way we're going to do well.
No way we
Who's
could repeat that.
to say I didn't take it easy on you this week too? Yeah. But it is time once again to play.
Yes.
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very cool. Also feel like we stumbled over our words a lot this week. So I don't know. I don't know if we're mentally operating on all cylinders.
I don't know. We kind of ran through the show pretty quick today, I feel like.
We did.
Just to give Brian more time to showcase his skills.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's what we wanted to do.
Okay.
All right.
So
do we have general?
We do have general. We've got I see 4 general on there. So you could go general all across the board if you wanted to.
Oh.
But
or do you have to reset it?
I don't want to commit
Or I have to reset
Oh
it,
no,
so-
I'll just do general then.
Okay.
so
Pick one. Pick the best looking.
all right, here we go.
Pick the best looking.
Which
general.
country were the 1908 Summer Olympic Games held in?
Athens, Greece.
He didn't say the first.
Huh?
Yeah.
No, they ran it back in 08. Because they wanted to.
1902. Is that what you said?
1908.
1908.
You can't even recall the year right.
Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it's not far off. All right. Germany.
Neither. It was the United Kingdom. So
All right. Well,
all right, so for
One
one there.
down.
So what are you? Do you want more general?
Sure.
Okay.
it's up to him.
What martial arts name means way of the sword?
Way of the sword.
Way of the sword.
What martial arts
name
name?
means way of the sword?
So it's
So
the
a
name
type
of the
martial
yeah.
art.
It's the type of martial arts.
Okay.
I have no idea. Is it? Let me ask you this: is it a commonly known martial arts?
I think you've heard of it. Possibly.
Possibly. That really narrows it down. I'm not going to say karate or jiu-jitsu.
Okay. Well, you're kind of running out of options.
Yeah.
If you've watched any kind of science fiction, you've probably heard of it.
That's all he watches.
Like The Matrix?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Nah, I know. Man, his quote is like, I know something now in that fight scene. What did he say?
I'll just guess.
I don't
since
know.
he's,
What is
Go
it?
right ahead.
Taekwondo.
No.
Okay.
There are no swords in
He
Taekwondo.
talked me out of jiu-jitsu.
Oh, I don't know what it is. I don't.
It's kendo.
I was wrong. It had
Yeah.
the movie quote. It wasn't even it.
All right, so we can do more general, or there's history and entertainment.
Entertainment for me.
Entertainment.
Nobody's. Have you heard of kendo?
Yes, I've heard.
Oh yeah, I bet you
practice.
have. Yeah, I'm sure you have with your drums.
All right. I'm going to give you the easiest one you've had on this program
Today.
That's a lot.
No,
of,
the easiest. This is the easiest.
That's a lot of pressure because if we get this wrong, then we've really shown ourselves.
Let me just put it this way: if you get
it.
this one wrong, I disown you.
Oh, pressure's on.
So you're quitting the show? Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say that.
Entertainment.
Which Californian national park shares its name with a U2 album?
Joshua Tree.
Bingo. Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree was also in the movie Entourage.
He's raised us up well.
Yeah.
Yes. So.
A couple of U2 fans over here because of him.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, y'all are bigger U2 fans than
Greatest
me.
album of all time.
Not that I'm not. It's
in my
just
opinion.
Y'all are more so than me.
So this isn't on the board, but we talked about it some last week. We talked about, I'll leave you with this.
Okay.
We talked about Casey Kasem.
Yes.
Unrecognizable voices and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what famous character he voiced in the 60s and 70s?
I used to know this. I'm going to say no, but I know I'll remember. It was a cartoon.
It was a cartoon.
I know that.
And for bonus points, what is not his nickname, but what was his actual name?
I think it was Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, well, it was in Scooby-Doo.
Fred.
No.
Shaggy.
I mean Shaggy. That's what I
There
meant
you
to
go.
say.
Shaggy. He was Shaggy.
Yeah.
But
What was
Shaggy's real name?
I don't know.
I do not know.
Norval Rogers.
Norval Rogers.
For some reason, Bartholomew or something like that was on the tip of my
That's
tongue.
great.
Full useless knowledge.
That's great.
There you
If it
go.
wasn't for you meddling kids,
Yeah.
I would have gotten away with it.
Oh, man. I loved Scooby-Doo, buddy.
Yeah.
Big fan.
Yeah, I like the van too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The mystery mobile.
van. Yeah, mystery mobile, yeah.
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 But I like the show how it always seemed like it wasn't going to be like somebody impersonating a ghost or something. They always made it seem like this was a legitimate situation.
Oh, yeah.
This time,
It is paranormal activity, and then
Well,
some
the
random
wonders,
dude running around with
the
a mask.
janitor.
the wonders that social media is on the internet. If you get a chance, you can go and try to find this image. I've got it somewhere because I sent it to Steve Mooningham here in the print shop.
Yeah.
He's a huge Scooby-Doo fan.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Someone took a picture at a gas pump, and there's a mystery mobile and a Ghostbusters
Ooh.
wagon
Together?
and they're back to back.
Wow.
Somebody's gassing them up, and the caption said, "Something must really be bad going down for both of them to show up."
That's pretty funny.
I failed to mention it the other week, but speaking of famous vehicles, the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile was in Little Rock
Yeah,
a few weeks ago.
yeah.
Did you go see it?
I drove past it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Was it
I
driving?
did a second turn. Yeah. It had
What
two
kind of
people.
speed can it do?
It wasn't going as fast as me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I
But
imagine
we were in the city, so that it's not an opportunity to really test the.
were you like
RPMs.
at a stoplight together? Or
Yeah, they were
you
coming.
Like
They were. I was at the stoplight. They were in front of me, coming the opposite direction.
Oh, so you
Yeah.
didn't have
Nice.
a chance to try to race them? Or
no,
challenge
no. I could have just in the Farm Bureau mobile hit a U-turn and just chased them down if I was that serious about it. I guess.
I don't recommend doing that.
No,
U-turns.
no. That's
U-turns.
probably the reason why I didn't.
All right. Well, that wraps up the news for this week. Thanks for following along with the Arkansas AgCast. We're grateful for you taking the time to watch and listen.
Remember, you can catch new episodes of the show every Thursday afternoon. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube. Listen to the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts.
Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm Jason Brown.
And I am John McMahon.
And we'll see you next week.